Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the Coach, from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
I'm feeling good, man. It's we're Money in the Bank season, kind of happening, coming up actually this week. It's just a great show. I love the concept. I think we got some good things happening on it. And so, just kind of excited to cover one of these matches and get into it a little bit here.
Yeah, it's funny. I was saying before we hit record, you just forget how many of these there are. I mean, at this point, 2012, it's already a regular pay-per-view. We had some before. I got a list already pulled up that we'll talk about, but it's just there's been a bunch of these. I don't know. It's hard to believe. I don't think of it as being something that's been around for, almost 20 years. God, it makes me feel old to even think about it. But anyways. This will be fun. This will be a good one. There's some fun names in here, good and bad, right? So that'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think it'll be. I don't think there's ever been a bad Money in the Bank match. Honestly, I don't think there's ever been one where you're like, oh, well, that sucked. I mean, obviously some are better than others. Some maybe you like the booking better than others, but I think they're always fun. It really is a great concept. Thank you, Chris Jericho.
Yeah, and this was one I picked this one because it's interesting because while Money in the Bank, the show has had a lot of good matches that were not the ladder and or money, the contract match. And I think that's the problem with this show is it is still a gimmick match. And so this one you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, which is way too many. And so they've since reduced that quite a bit. But I feel like this is one where it was one of the better rated ones. It was one that there was a lot of names in here that you're like, oh, where's that guy? What's going on with this? And so, or that guy's long gone, or names are all over the place now. And so, I thought it was just an interesting one to pick. It was just far enough away where it was still kind of early. I say far enough away in time. It made sense, because it was still kind of early with this. You got more people. So just a lot of different reasons to cover it. But, also, too, it's Money in the Bank week. So, why not?
Well, I'm pumped to cover this one. We are at the 9-minute mark of Money in the Bank 2012.
Yep.
So I'm pumped though. But so, and you brought up a good point. I feel like Money in the Bank has had some really good. I mean, obviously, Cena Punk, it comes to mind. But there's been some really good matches outside of this. So we'll get into it in a second. But I'm just thinking through all of the years, and I feel like for whatever reason, and that's actually another list. I'll pull that one up because I wanted to talk best Money in the Bank matches ever, but see if I can find a list of best non-Money in the Bank, Money in the Bank pay-per-view matches as well. So anyways, let's get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right, so Money in the Bank 2012. Which this is the third year of the actual Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Jeff, my feeling is this fits better on the calendar than the old Hell in the Cell did, right? Because it was there's a purpose for this. It's hey, every year we're going to throw 8 men, 8 women in there, and someone's going to get a title shot and they're going to carry around the briefcase. That makes sense. The idea of, hey, every year we're going to pick 2 random feuds and put them in a Hell in a Cell, that actually doesn't make sense. So I like this. And I think it should be recurring, and I think it should be forever, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I almost think of it in a way, almost like a summer Royal Rumble, right? Where it's like it's a staple and it's okay to be there. So again, for some of the theme pay-per-views, I don't think they've hit, and I think sometimes they feel forced. This is one where it's like, okay, it fits the summer, and again, in my mind, it's almost like a summer Royal Rumble. And some of them, I mean, they've been able to have them at some pretty big places. Now they tried to do one in Vegas, and they had to move it to the arena, which is a shame. But I think overall, I think it's a good concept. And as hokey as the briefcase is, I feel like the vast majority of the time it's been used by the right guy in the right setting. Like even like with Damien Priest, I was like, oh, was that going to be kind of hokey? But it's like it fits, right? It makes sense, and I don't know. So I think they've done a good job with it. So dark match: R-Truth and Kofi Kingston defeating Camacho and Hunico. Close enough, right?
Which Camacho or Tangaloa actually. And so that was one, and Hunico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it says Sin Cara, and so I don't know if we're dealing with different. If that was because he's in this match as well.
The original one, or yeah,
something weird, but yeah.
By the way, this was here. This was in Phoenix. I did not go, and I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I guess during this era, I was going to WrestleManias, so it was kind of like, I don't know, B show, and I'm sure tickets were. Yeah, I was just kind of like, I think there was an Elimination Chamber here one time too that I didn't go to. I don't know. I just like, I mean, you can't go to everything. I mean, obviously people do.
Is this where it says the U.S. Airways Center? Is this where they normally run shows?
Yeah, most of the time. They've done them where the Coyotes used to play, which is a little further away. They've done some SmackDowns there. They actually run both buildings here. So they've done pay-per-views at both. But yeah, that's typically where it is, downtowns, where all the WrestleMania-related stuff was. So yeah, wonder if we'll get another WrestleMania at some point. It'd be fun if we did. But there's still a lot of cities competing, because it's like Vegas obviously makes sense. I feel like New Orleans is in the rotation. I feel like you have to run New York at some point, and maybe they'll do like April, May. They'll do it when it's warmer. Detroit, how do you not give them, the 20th anniversary of 23 and the 40th of 3? Yep. Minnesota made a compelling argument, so I'm sure they'll get one. LA has to be in the mix. Dallas has to be in the mix. Miami has to be in the mix. I mean, it's become the Super Bowl. But I'd argue that you probably even have more cities in the mix. So it's interesting, right? Like it's what it's become. But yeah, it's just a lot of cities that can.
I always look to who's building a new stadium or an arena. Like that. That's really what it boils down to. Is who's getting the big new arena, and that's where you're going to see some of these shows going. They want the biggest, they want the brightest, the best amenities, all that.
Yeah. I could see Indy getting one at some point too.
Yeah. I think eventually here, they'll go back because we do have the kind of, we just recently had a show, but it just, getting in a football arena, like we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But it'll be a couple of years at this point, but it'll happen. Yeah.
So we start off with Money in the Bank. Then we move on to Sheamus retaining his World Heavyweight Championship against Alberto Del Rio. I'll tell you, for a lot of reasons, I never need to see Alberto Del Rio on my TV again.
Yep. Yeah.
I was never a fan, and he just seems like a complete scumbag.
Yep.
Primo and Epico are going to defeat the Primetime Players in 7 minutes. Your WWE champion, CM Punk, is going to retain the championship in a no DQ match against Daniel Bryan with AJ Lee as your special guest referee. That had to be a good match.
Well, we've covered it, so go back in the archives. Yep, it was a long time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
It was a long time, but we did cover that one. Yep.
Ryback defeats Kurt Hawkins and Tyler Rex in a 4-minute handicap match.
Sure.
Caitlin, Layla, and Tamina are going to defeat Beth Phoenix, Eve Torres, and Natalia in a 6 diva tag match in 3 minutes. So kind of 2 interesting matches there. And then your main event is a Money in the Bank ladder match for the WWE Championship contract, because the one we're going to cover is for the World Heavyweight Championship. This one has 5 guys in it, with John Cena defeating The Big Show, Chris Jericho, Kane, and The Miz. So we did 2 men's ladder match Money in the Banks. I certainly prefer 1 male and 1 female one.
Yep.
So yeah, that's our show. In terms of the build, anything noteworthy in terms of how we got these guys together? And like you said before, it's quite the random collection of superstars.
Yeah, so I have their qualifying matches here, which that's what I'll get into. And so you've got
And
Dolph
that makes
Ziggler.
sense. They should do these qualifying matches. I mean, you got all this Raw and SmackDown time to fill. It makes so much sense to do these.
Yep. So you had Dolph, Christian, Cody Rhodes, Damien Sandow, Santino Marella, Sin Cara, Tensai, and Tyson Kidd. So Damien Sandow beat Zack Ryder to get in. Tyson Kidd beat Jack Swagger. Santino Marella and Christian beat Cody Rhodes and David Otunga in a tag match. And Cody still got in with, Tensai beat Justin Gabriel. At the SmackDown, you had Rhodes beat Christian, and Dolph Ziggler beat Alex Riley, and so then you had that, and then last you had the final qualifying match, which was July 9th on Raw. You had Sin Cara beating Heath Slater. So this match rather was not set until about a week out. And so just a lot of different things happening to a lot of match. Like, I'm okay with this. It was actually started on June 29th, and then it took week and a half. And so really we didn't know, but it's still good. So yeah, I'm ready if you are, though.
Yeah, like I said, we're at the 9-minute mark. Money in the Bank 2012, Season 3, Episode 1. Jeff, are you ready?
Let's do it.
It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
Christian walking into the ring. Everyone else is already in there. Quite the collection of talent. It's interesting. You were talking about the qualifying matches. Isn't it quite, and with all due respect to Justin Gabriel and Heath Slater and some of the other names you said, isn't it wild, like, how deep the current roster is? Like, you think about some of these, like, what qualifying matches would be now for King of the Ring or Money in the Bank or anything. And it's like, you've got like great matches. They just, I mean, the talent is just unbelievable. The men's side and the women's side. Like, there's not very many people, man. I don't know. Like, it's like, who's the biggest jobber on the main roster? Apollo Crews? The guy's incredibly talented.
Well, it's interesting because I have, it was not that long ago, I have a list, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 names, and I'd say almost all of them are on the main roster, maybe 12 of them, of injured superstars right now. And this includes CM Punk, Rhea Ripley, Drew, Asuka, Charlotte Flair, Dominic Mysterio, Jimmy Uso, Rhea. Like, you got Hall of Famers in there right now, and they've got no problem booking TV. They've got no problem kind of putting the show on and doing this stuff. And so I think that shows you how deep the roster is and how deep the bench is, because they are able to do, even with all these people hurt and kind of doing what they're doing, like, you don't notice it. And then it's that much bigger when they come back, because we're able to like enjoy it, and a little time away, makes the heart grow fonder, if you will, type thing. And so, yeah, I think it's just really interesting that, I think you raise an interesting point here. Like, do you use like King of the Ring to elevate some people? Do you use some of these tournaments? Do you? Someone pointed out, it was not that long ago, like Logan Paul's only had like 3 defenses or 2 defenses of the title. Like, you're taking away from it, whereas Gunther was out there every week defending the Intercontinental belt. And so, and I think there's gonna be ebb and flow to that, I think. But I think it's just really interesting them trying, let's try some different things. Who knows? And I think we will start to see more of that now that Triple H is in charge.
Yeah. Well, the one of the big things too is just this long-term booking. I mean, they've got to have, 6 months planned out at all times. It just feels like, not that it doesn't change, but it's like, man, it just makes the product so much better. Now, granted, they have a deeper bench now, so I think that's part of it is the talent. But it's like you just look at like this era we're covering, and you just know that Vince was booking this shit week to week, month to month, and that works, so let's do another match. I mean, it just I don't know. I love how long term it is now, and not that they aren't open to like being organic when things necessitate it, but it's just they've got a plan. Like, they probably have the bloodline figured out for at least the next 12 months, right? Like, a pretty good idea. Oh. It'll depend on Rock's schedule. Injuries could change things, but like, it just makes it so much better when you can do that. I mean, you look at like, it's funny. It's like, I don't know how this didn't click for Vince, but the best storyline that Vince may have ever saw, or done himself was Macho Man Hulk Hogan. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, what was so unique about that? What was so unique about that was it was 12 months, right? It started with Macho winning the world championship.
Oh,
as a baby. Right. I know what. Yeah. Macho winning the title as a baby face, but being a little jealous of Hogan. And that went for 12 months. And it's like, at no point did Vince think, wow, the best thing that I ever booked, best storyline was 12 months of build. Why don't I try doing that more often? Why don't we try having a plan? And so Triple H obviously is doing such a good job in that space, among other things, obviously. Really good match so far. The Sin Cara thing, I liked him. I thought it was cool, and it just, for whatever reason, just didn't work. And I don't know if it was the guy behind the character or what, but I just thought it was like a really good presentation, and there was something there. Like a modern day Rey Mysterio.
He's got one of my favorite ladder match spots too, where if you remember, he did the flip over the ladder with Jey Uso onto the other ladder. Like, that was great. Yeah. Interesting scene. So you got, I don't even know I think it's Tyson Kidd was laid out. Christian just diving onto a ladder there. Yep. So I didn't bring this up last week. I want to bring it up this week though. At least where we stand today. Are you putting Money in the Bank? We always have the big four, and we talk about that. Are you on board with Money in the Bank being the fifth, the big five, which they talk about a lot? But also, I had this as a shower thought, like, Money in the Bank is better than Survivor Series unless they fix it. And so where are you kind of putting Money in the Bank amongst all of the other, I say big four, big five, however you want, to wherever you want to put it? And is there, how can they make it better? Because we got the men's, we have the women's, we kind of know what happened, but is there, so where are you ranking it, and how can you change it to make it better?
So I still view, I view it in 3 tiers. And to me, tier 1 is WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and Royal Rumble. And I think those all have the potential to be stadium shows.
Yep.
No problem. Okay. Then I think below that, you've got Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank. I mean, they've done a lot to make Backlash a big deal, Clash at the Castle. So you've got that. And then, and those have just been fantastic as well. And then you have like tier 3, which would be like a Payback, or Fastlane. My hope is get rid of those tier 3. I mean, and they're inching towards that. I mean, like, let's get to a point where every PLE is just awesome. And, you know, look, I mean, say what you want about the Saudi shows, but they load them up and, you know, they're usually a pretty darn good card. Obviously, the big four. The international shows have been unbelievable. Class at the Castle, right? So, like, I think we just need to get rid of those because they don't hit. I don't even know what the rest of this year's calendar will look like, but I would just love it if like every PLE was a big effing deal. And I think we're almost there. We just need to get rid of like the fast lane, you know, type stuff where like we're running a PLE to run a PLE. And there's got to be enough markets. I mean, you saw France. I heard the crowds in Italy were awesome. Obviously, UK, they're nuts. You can do, you know, so it's like you start looking at the calendar and you're like, okay, we know we're getting 2 Saudi shows a year. That's just what's going to happen. The UK should have one. Maybe you pick another spot in Europe. You know, Australia, so you start to do those and then you pick your big US markets and man, you've just got a hell of a calendar. I mean, really, really good.
So to lay it out a little bit for you, so I think August is going to be an interesting month because you have SummerSlam the first week of August, and that's in Cleveland. And then at the end of the month, you have Bash in Berlin, which is obviously in Berlin.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so, and then wedged in there too, the week before Bash in Berlin is All In, and then the weekend of Bash in Berlin is All Out. And so we don't know, as of recording, we don't know WWE's pay-per-views after that. We might by the time this episode comes out. But on the flip side, like, yeah, do you take some of those third-tier shows and just put them international? Like Backlash has become unmissable because of them taking it international. Like Elimination Chamber, like, you know, as well too. And when you're doing that one in Australia, I think it's going to be very interesting, and I think it's something to pay attention to when you have these crowds in Cleveland and how are they reacting at SummerSlam versus how are the crowds in Germany. Like Randy Orton had it right. He's like, I've never had an American crowd sing my entire entrance song. Like that's crazy, and it really is. And so, they turned Jey Uso into like they gave him a new entrance, like plain and simple. Overnight.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And so, some of this stuff, and I know, it's interesting. And so, and I think it is part of it. Like, who is it? The music gets shit on a lot. And there is a lot of bad entrance themes right now. Like, whether it's the Burn It Down and Seth's or the, Cody's and the whatever it might be, like they need that type of stuff. You need something to get invested in this. And so, what a tie up right here. You have a young Cody Rhodes against at the time he's Prince Albert, or he's Tensai, excuse me, but that's Prince Albert in there right now, climbing the ladder. I think for the first time he's going up. So
yeah, I think the goal is every superstar should have an entrance that people can sing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why
whether there's lyrics or there's just whoa, like I mean, it just adds so much. Look, every wrestler is going to get an entrance. The entrance is going to be a few minutes long. You might as well make it as interesting as possible, right?
Yep.
It just makes the Royal Rumble better. It makes the international shows better. I mean, I just they gotta keep, and there's some great themes and there's some just horrible ones, and they've just gotta keep doing better. But like, I mean, there's that era where it's like everyone just had a it was just like, yeah. I remember when they like broke up the Shield. It was like Roman still came out to the Shield music. Ambrose had just a stupid theme. Rollins had a stupid theme. It's like, guys, like there's thousands and thousands of people out there that make music. Like, find some people that like want to make cool entrances. Like it's not that hard to like, crowdsource it. Just have contests. I mean, anything to like develop music that you can still own and can be in your catalog. Like, I've never understood why in certain eras the music just sucks so bad.
I'm enjoying right now. We have the Santino Marella spot. He's got the Cobra out, and so enjoy this. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's well, especially too. Like they said you've got them chanting for AJ Styles so hard that the camera in the building is shaking, and then the next week, like you're getting what chants again? Like it just,
Yeah.
no respect. And also, like, hey, like I know a lot of it. Like I was sending you screenshots of like on Twitter when it was happening. Like, hey, here's what this chant means. Like, give us a primer.
Oh yeah.
Like, why not tell us? Like, hey, there is a chant that they're doing for AJ Styles. Like, you want to tell me? Like it made it better. Like they were doing a little bit much for me, but at the same time, like the fact that they were doing it at all was pretty cool. Like. And so, and all these different chants and all these different things, like after every 2 count was a lot, but it added to it, and they stayed hot the whole night. And so, I think back, like you couldn't do that 8 hours of WrestleMania though, like it's just not a thing. And so, but yeah, just really interesting how it all played out. I do want to call out too. We have Tensai in the room, Matt Bloom. You and I both got the opportunity to meet him, obviously kind of running the performance center too. I want to give him, we don't do enough of his matches, so kind of want to shout him out a little bit here.
And played football at the University of Pittsburgh.
Yes. And so, is he graduate of? Look at that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. He's a hell of a football player at Pittsburgh, at Pitt. And I think he's from Pittsburgh too, if I'm not mistaken.
I appreciate it because I remember they called us in individually when you and I visited the performance center, and I went in and like I knew who he was, and so like I like lit up. I was super. There's a great picture of me like shaking his hand, like I'm super excited. Like that's what he told me too. I think I don't know if that's what he told you, but that's what he told me. Like, hey, we've got you commentating for the last 3 matches tonight. I was like, I'm ready. Let's do this. Like I was super excited. Like really cool guy. Like I don't think he gets enough respect for a lot of the, we always hear about Triple H and Shawn Michaels at the Performance Center. Matt Bloom runs the Performance Center as far as I'm concerned. Like I don't know, today if he's still doing what he's doing, but he was out there. I know he was running the Q&A. Like he's teaching a lot of these wrestlers what they're doing. And so, and you figure he's had how many, this would be a good Family Feud question of like, how many Matt Bloom characters can you name in, 60 seconds or whatever? Like, because you got Tensai, you got A-Train, you got Albert, you got Prince Albert, you got Lord, you got all these different things. And so, it's just really interesting, but shout out here. Vicky Guerrero ringside too for Dolph. You've got a complete car crash here.
There's a lot of
ladders all over the place. Like, wild things happening.
Best non-ladder matches on Money in the Bank pay-per-views. Number 1, Cena Punk, which was out of this world. Number 2 was the Punk Bryan 2012 match from this show. 3 was a World Heavyweight title match between Randy Orton and Christian. 4 was a World Heavyweight Championship match between Jack Swagger and Rey Mysterio in 2010. And 5 was a steel cage match between Sheamus and John Cena in 2010. So yeah, a lot of good non-Money in the Bank matches. And then I won't go through them all, but I got a list pulled up of the top Money in the Bank matches ever. They have number 1 is WrestleMania 21 2005, which was the first ever one. That's what they have number 1. Then 2014, 2013, 2021, 2007. So yeah.
Interesting stuff. Sin Cara is just getting tossed around all over the place.
Yeah, he is. Oh God.
And there's Dolph getting tossed around, getting ragged out. Yep.
Man, there's just this is a wild one, man. This is really good. So Cody setting up a ladder. I know this is going to sound like 2020 hindsight, but I feel like I would have said the same thing. In fact, I know I felt the same way at the time. AEW, I get making Chris Jericho your first champion, but from there on out, you need to be pushing Cody Rhodes. You need to be pushing the Young Bucks. You need to be pushing Adam Page. Oh, wow. What a spear.
Big spear from Christian to Cody Rhodes. Yep.
So this obsession over signing and pushing WWE guys, I get it. Daniel Bryan's really good. Like, Bryan Daniels, I get it. But it's like, dude, if you want to be different, be different. If you want to be an alternative brand, be an alternative brand. If you're pushing Edge, Christian, Daniel Bryan, and I'm seeing Big Show and Mark Henry and, and I mean, even FTR, I mean, they're the ex-WWE guy. And I know, but like, again, Darby Allin, put him on TV, Orange Cassidy. And I'm not saying I love all these guys, but like, they're your homegrown talent, MJF. And again, I know they've done some of it, but like Samoa Joe, why is he your world champion? Give Wardlow the world championship. Put him in that spot. Like, and they're just going to lose these guys. Jade Cargill, she's gone. Wardlow, he'll be gone. Ricky Starks, he's going to be gone. You're going to lose all these guys that you didn't have to lose. And here's the thing too, is like, okay, so Ziggler knocks off Christian. Is he gonna get it? Everyone else is down. There you go. He's gonna get it. Yep, there you go. Ziggler's your champion, or Ziggler's your Money in the Bank winner. Vicky going crazy. What a hell of a match. But my point is that I just feel like there was such a missed opportunity to like truly lean into all of these non-WWE guys, and you're gonna lose some of the ones you wanted to keep. The other problem too is you're not getting a lot of guys to jump, and I know like part of the whole thing was like, oh, we're gonna have guys jump and the surprises and the Daniel Bryan and Edge showing up, but KO's not going there. Drew McIntyre's not going there. Seth Rollins is not going there. A lot of these guys are re-signing, they're staying. So at some point, you got to make your own stars. And they're just doing the same shit that WCW did. And it's not sustainable. Meanwhile, make MJF the biggest star that you can. Make Adam Page the biggest star that you can. Build these guys, sign them to long-term contracts, and make it different. But if all you're giving me is a 55-year-old version of Edge, I've seen that. Yeah. And it's not different enough, right? So I don't know. That's just – so I say all that to say, you should have made Cody your world champion. You didn't, and it cost you. And how many other guys are going to leave you because you didn't do with them what you should have?
Look where you are now. Yeah. Yep.
And I know MJF had a nice run, but it's like, man, I would make him as big of a superstar as I could. Wardlow, when he was hot, I would have given him a championship and made him a Goldberg type character and ran with it as hard and as long as I could have. But what do I know? I think Tony Khan is he's a fan, and he's I like this guy, so I'm gonna sign him to a big contract. And he's not thinking strategically of how, if you want to grow the company, what made ECW so a cult classic? Well, it was their own guys. There was only one Sandman. They weren't bringing in Bret Hart to work matches in ECW, right? You had the Sandman, you had Tommy Dreamer, you had the Dudley Boys, you had Rob Van Dam. They were just different. They were unique. It was presented way different. Do that with AEW. There's well over 1 million fans out there that'll watch your program every week, and you can be successful. But if you're trying to be like a watered down WWE, that's where I try to explain that like most AEW fans are also WWE fans. Everyone wants to create this tribalism. Like you need to carve out your own fan base. But if you make it so small, then you're only going to have 500,000 people watch you. And if you're just going to be a watered down version of WWE, you're not going to attract people. So, anyways, all right, let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
What'd you think?
A car crash, but that's what I would expect. And so not bad.
Yeah.
Like good stuff overall. Just crazy, but good. So not, great, but I think that the story they tell with Dolph is good, which we'll talk about right now. But yeah, and so Dolph tried to cash in a couple different times. Actually, it was actually 4 times on SmackDown against Sheamus and Big Show when they were champs, and then also Alberto Del Rio as well too. He actually had to defend the briefcase, which we don't see that much anymore. Like kind of putting the contract on the line.
I like when they do that.
Yep. It was both on Raw against Chris Jericho and then at TLC against Cena in a ladder match. Of course, finally, I went back and watched this clip, but of course, eventually cashing in on Alberto Del Rio on Raw. Great moment. Del Rio had been attacked by Jack Swagger, cashing in after that. Really cool moment. Kind of they had a short match. It was maybe 2 minutes, and I hit him with the zigzag and beat him. And so, but it was really good. It was worth it. Kind of a cool moment. So, looking at PWI, this is 2012, not that long ago. I said not that long, it's still 12 years ago. But Christian was 15, Cody Rhodes 23, Damien Sandow 90, Dolph Ziggler 16, Santino Marella 60, Sin Cara 101, Tensai 45, and Tyson Kidd 108. And so, just kind of talking through this one. That was nuts. Some really bad sequences and some really good sequences mixed together here. Almost everyone had a chance to shine at various points in the match, notably Kidd in defeat. Sandow also took another step as a new heel on SmackDown, 2 3/4. This was the second best match of the night, according to the Observer newsletter. Punk and Bryan getting 96 votes. This match getting 19. Oh, no. Oh, is this? Yeah. No, because this would have not been the SmackDown ladder in the match. That was the other show. And so, yeah. All right. So no, not the second best. So there you go. I don't have any votes on that one, mixing it up. There were many high spots here. It would be impossible to list them all. Aside from 2 botched spots, this was excellent. Lots of climbing and being knocked down. While there were some big bumps, they were almost all in the ring, and nothing like the obligatory teeter-totter spot or the guy flying off the top of the ladder over the top rope through a table on the floor type craziness. 4 stars. So 2 3/4 from the Torch, 4 stars from the Observer newsletter. Where are you putting this one, Tom?
I have this at a 6.5.
Okay.
Enjoyed it, entertaining, fun guys in there, nothing wrong with it. But we've seen bigger stars, we've seen better stories, we've seen better matches out of these Money in the Banks. But to me, even a mediocre one is still a lot of fun. Give me this pay-per-view every year with matches like this with your current superstars, and I got no complaints at all. I think it's a lot of fun. Again, not everything's 5-star classic, 6 months of build, right? And I think that's okay. What about you?
Yeah, I'm at a 6 because same thing. It's just one of those I don't not bad but not great, and it was perfectly fine where it was on the card. There was some better matches on this one, like we know, but I think you could have probably picked either of these ladder matches, and they were great. And so I think overall, in between, some bad matches and some good matches. What can you expect? They're not all going to be bangers, but still really good stuff nevertheless. I think it was enjoyable. But yeah, nothing wrong with it, nothing good, nothing bad. Yep.
Cool. Well, so, I'm excited for next week.
I know you're excited. This one was for you. Again, covering another Owen Hart match, but this time we're going to Monday Night Raw versus your boy Shawn Michaels. And so this should be a very good match. A lot at play here, a lot happening, a lot of big storyline coming out after the fact with it. And so should just be really good. Yep.
Cool. Well, this was fun. We'll see you next week on an all-new episode of